everyone's family setup is different, and yet at the core, a lot of us are feeling the same things.
Yeah.
And so I almost felt like it was my fault and I was a bad person, and why was I this awful human being for feeling this way? And just being able to validate that some of that's normal, to acknowledge that it's okay, but also to be able to work past it, I think has been leaps and bounds of where we were when we first started.
Welcome to the Blended Family Breakthrough Podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Kim.
We believe in a world where blended families can experience a future full of hope, connection, and peace.
That's why we offer tools, strategies, and guidance that move you from a place of confusion and conflict to experiencing a life of confidence and connection.
We're so glad you're joining us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations as we cover everything from romance to parenting, and yes, even dealing with that difficult ex.
So if you're ready to experience breakthrough in your blended family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey there, thanks for joining us today. You know, we're particularly excited to connect with you today and share a new way for you to talk with us,
Right.
not just listen to us here on the show. But before we get to that, I'd really love to give a heartfelt thank you to our listener over on Apple Podcasts that recently shared in a review that after 14 years of blending,
Wow.
they're still dealing with trapped teammate and stranded stranger issues. And then they go on to say that our podcast has actually offered some clear strategies for dealing with it. Hey, thank you so much for that encouraging feedback. And we just want to reassure you that you're not alone.
No.
You know, we're now 22 years
Right.
into our blend, and we still experience the trapped teammate and stranded stranger dynamic.
Yeah.
We've just learned how to navigate it a little bit better than we used to.
Yeah, and you can get there too.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much for that review. We really appreciate it. By the way, if you're listening right now and you've not left a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts or over on Spotify, why not do that right now while you're thinking about it? We really appreciate your feedback, and we know that it helps others who are trying to choose which resources they want to invest their time and energy into. So
Right.
they're listening to your feedback to make that decision. So thanks in advance for helping us out.
Yeah, and if you've just recently discovered our show and you're scratching your head wondering, what the heck is the trapped teammate stranded stranger dynamic?
Yep.
Well, we're going to put a link in the show notes for you to go check that out after you listen to this episode.
Great. All right, honey. Why don't we hop into today's topic?
Sounds good. I grew up watching a popular sitcom that portrayed endearing stories about a blended family that didn't really seem to face any of the common challenges that we talk about here on the show. And you've probably already guessed it. The Brady Bunch, right? You
Yep.
watched it too,
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
you?
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So if you're anything like me and you've ever watched The Brady Bunch, then you might have started off in your blended family journey with a lot of unrealistic expectations. And maybe you've been blindsided by these unexpected realities that come with blending family life and all of the challenges that you're facing. I've certainly experienced that throughout our journey. I know you have, honey.
Yeah, not just our journey. I grew up in a really complicated blended family, and then I'm sitting there watching the Brady Bunch going, why can't we be like that? Because it just doesn't work that way.
No.
And all that relational tension and uncertainty and chaos and conflict that the Brady Bunch never really, faced on the show, it's just not reality.
You were living in that, right?
Exactly,
Growing
yeah.
up.
It's just not reality. Yeah.
And that's true of the Brady Bunch, except for that very first episode. And if you haven't seen that first episode, it's actually quite interesting. Mike and Carol Brady, they get married, they head off on their honeymoon, only to be interrupted by their 6 kids who are feeling excluded, right?
Yep.
So all the kids end up joining the couple, which actually, that's a great example of something we say all the time here on the show, that blended couples don't get a honeymoon.
Yeah.
And Mike and Carol Brady did not get a honeymoon, but after that first episode, the Brady Bunch functions like a first family for the most part.
Yeah.
But listen to this quote from actor Robert Reed, who played Mike Brady on the show.
Now, you might be a bit too young to be familiar with the Brady Bunch. So Mike Brady was the character who was the bio dad to 3 boys and the stepdad to 3 girls.
Right.
So just to clarify. So the actor said...
Actor Robert Reed said, "A community that learns together excels together. We need to form communities that learn together." I found that so interesting when I came across that quote. And so I did a quick Google search of Robert Reed, and I learned that he was married back in the 50s and went through a divorce when their daughter was 3 years old. So I wondered about this quote, and I wondered if Robert Reed had ever connected to a supportive community as he navigated all the complexities of divorce, single parenthood, shared custody, all of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just speculating here, but could it be that Robert Reed found value learning alongside others with a shared experience who were all trying to do their best in circumstances that were challenging?
That is really interesting. So here's this guy at the time that he's starring in the Brady Bunch, playing the part of second husband and stepdad. He had been divorced for about 10 years and experienced all the emotional fallout associated with divorce and that struggle for kids. And honey, you just mentioned the word blindsided a minute ago, which we hear from blended couples all the time.
Right.
They simply didn't expect things to be so difficult. And sometimes when the challenges hit and the difficulties persist, couples start to think maybe there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they love each other. They start out committed to their relationship and to their new family. But for some reason, they just can't seem to figure out how to stay united when it comes to parenting, to problem solving, coping with the exes, making decisions, and really leading their blended family forward.
Yeah. And what I love about Robert Reed's quote is that he inserts the word learn twice, not just once, twice.
Yeah.
And so often when we think of community, it's all about creating a sense of belonging and positive support. And of course, that's a big part of a thriving community. But what we found to be incredibly helpful and indispensable in our own blended family journey is when we can come together to learn from each other's shared experiences. So powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. In episode 165 from last week, we talked about the importance of having a growth mindset, helping us remain resilient. So in addition to that, you know what? As human beings, we all need genuine connection. Intentionally connecting with others who also focus on growth is a critical investment of maintaining a growth mindset.
Right.
So we get to choose who we engage with and surround ourselves with along the way. And the reality is that if we try to go it alone and just kind of blunder through our challenges without help or support, we really do end up missing out on a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. When I think back to all the blended couples we've met and journeyed with over the years, I can't imagine where we'd be or how we would have gotten through all that tough stuff without them. We really do need each other.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you and I, hon, spent about 15 years learning alongside different community support groups of blended families before we ever started supporting couples professionally.
Right.
And throughout the years, we've learned alongside literally hundreds of different blended family couples and personally discovered the value of community for blended families. Because that's been such a critical piece of our journey, we've been thinking about how to help you, our listeners, to get plugged into a positive, growth-focused community.
Absolutely.
We know the benefits that you would experience by having genuine support and a sense of belonging, combined with opportunities to learn practical ways of leading your family through all the ups and downs of blending. Look, knowledge is power. And for all of those reasons, we're creating a space that connects and empowers you through community.
Last fall, we invited a handful of founding members to a blended family community experience. And those couples have helped us to mold the content and the overall experience. And it's been a lot of fun getting to know these awesome couples interacting in a way that's distinctly different than coaching couples one-on-one.
Right.
And it's been exciting to see members engage and support and help each other through their unique challenges, sharing their personal experiences, and then offering some valuable insight to each other. It's awesome.
Absolutely. So with a little feedback from our founding members, we've been working throughout the summer to kind of envision what the next phase of our community looks like. And we want to be able to open it up for you to join us.
That's right. And we thought it would be awesome to have one couple from our small but mighty community join us to share their experience. Let's take a few minutes to hear from Chris and Nicole. Well, hey, Chris. Hey, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. We're seeing the new studio and the new digs. It looks nice.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we've been hard at work all summer trying to get things going. So.
Yep. We're so excited to have you guys on the show. And we're wondering if we could just kick it off by sharing some of your dynamics.
Yeah.
How long have you been together? Who has kids? What are the ages? All that kind of fun stuff.
Sure. So we have been together for 6 years in almost a month. Coming up on 6 years in a month.
Nice.
Okay.
So we're heading to Nashville. That'll be our 6-year anniversary. And we're one of those blended families that comes in with, fully loaded packages. So I have a son who is 14.
And I have 2 daughters. Emily is 8, almost 9. Her birthday's coming up very, very, very quickly. And Sophia just turned 11 at the beginning of summer.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. So you guys hit the ground running.
We don't do anything in small measures, Mike.
Very good.
So you've got a teenager, a preteen, and a younger one. You've got all the developmental stages going on there.
Absolutely.
We really do.
Yeah.
Different schools, different subsects, different problems. And I think hopefully just a little bit of burnout by the time that third one hits.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have lots of free time. You guys get to hang out as a couple. Is that what I'm hearing?
So much. We travel the world in our free time. All 80
awesome.
days. All 80 days.
Yeah.
We fill a lot of our time with everything and anything. We're kind of the couple that say yes to almost everything.
Okay.
And then it comes back to like past us really said yes to this also.
Yeah.
I do think that's one of the strengths of our relationship is that we, on some level, never really stop dating each other. We never stop. Our alone time is precious.
Yeah.
We do actually do a lot of traveling, and we've aligned our kids' schedules so that we have family time on this time, and then we prioritize our us time on, and then also try to figure out house projects, which never get done.
Yeah. I love it. That is really great to understand that because, our dynamics can easily pull at our couple relationship. And we've known you for, I don't know, about 10 months now, something like that. And we've noticed that. And what's actually pretty cool is you've been in our founding member community for those whole 10 months. And I think once in a while, like date night is hanging out with Mike and Kim in the group. Is that right?
Yeah, the kids go to bed and we get a bottle of wine and we chill with Mike and Kim.
There you go. I love it. Well, it's been a privilege to be a part of that along the way.
Yes, it has.
Tell us a little bit about, backing up last October, I think it was, when we really kicked this thing off and you guys decided to join us as founding members. Tell us a little bit about what your motivation was to decide to join the community.
So let me set the stage a little bit of where we were.
Sure.
So we'd been together for 5 years. We had tried couples therapy. We had tried everything in between. I'm the reader of, the couple. I listen to all the things. I read all the things. I'm in all the groups. I'm always trying to search for all of these things that we struggle with. There has to be somebody that's figured out some level of path. And there wasn't. There really wasn't. I found that the support for blended families was very lacking. Yeah. And somebody in one of those online groups had linked me over to your coaching page. From the coaching page, I found your podcast. Okay. And then I listened to the 4-part session on Trapped Teammate and Stranded Stranger, and I finally felt heard and understood for the first time, I think, in our relationship of trying to figure all of this out. And so once I saw that you guys were starting up a group, I fired off an invite. I hadn't even told Chris about it yet. I was like, well, if I sign up, you can't say no, right? We're the yes people. Do it. And then I had, a call with Kim and roped him in, and he was like, yeah, of course, I'm all for it. It's just one of those things that you realize that so many people out there are in their situation and they're all struggling.
Yep.
Some way, shape, or form. There's some level of minor or major struggle, and there are no resources for that.
Yeah.
It definitely was really disheartening because we worked with like a family therapist for almost a year, and it was very just circular logic.
Okay.
Or let's delve more into our childhoods, but we weren't getting to what was actually causing a lot of the pain and strife. And eventually, I think even to her own credit, she was like, this is not what I do.
Yeah.
And she had come from a resource that very specifically was like, this is what we do.
Right. Yeah.
And she listened to the first set of podcasts and immediately was like, you need to listen to this. And it was amazing to hear yourself in these situations. And like, it's very specifically starting with that. That was our gateway, was the Trap Teammate, Train a Stranger.
Yeah.
Good alliteration is going to get anybody in the door.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. It's all about rhyming and alliteration. Yeah.
But it was fascinating for me, not just to see myself in it, but to really, for the first time, see where she was.
It sounds like you grew in empathy as you started to kind of see each other through a different lens. Is that right?
Very much so.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's so good.
Yeah. So you heard the podcast, you connected with some of our personal stories and the pain that we've been through. Since then, since you've, joined our community and you've been joining us for all kinds of adventure and learning and growing and all of that, can you tell us what's one problem or one challenge that you were really struggling with, even though you had all the information, right? You heard things, you read things, but it was just really hard to implement it. How has the community helped you to implement a strategy?
So I think for us, it was almost at the very beginning, and I think you guys wisely lay things out with a strong foundation of what do words mean to you?
Yeah.
And I found that to be such a profound exercise from a psychological standpoint and an entomology standpoint. But I would say these are the words that are most important to me, and here's why. And then she would say, these are the words. And then understanding that, what you're saying is this word is not what I think this word means.
Exactly.
It's depends on what your definition of is.
Right.
It very much was like that. I think was one of the most profound moments we've had as a couple.
Yeah.
Was really seeing that aspect of the basic definition of fundamental words and values and how those attribute to each one of us individually, because we're all going to look at things through our own, kaleidoscope of experiences. So that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great.
I think mine would be, to piggyback a little bit off of his, was the exercise that we had done on values. So in our relationship, I tend to be the very structured and very rules-oriented partner. And Chris is about as anti-rules as one can get.
I'm a rebel, Dottie.
I hear you, Chris.
So we butted heads a lot about, like, here's the rules that I think that really should matter, and here's the structure. When we did that exercise where we reframed everything as, what do you value? What values are you trying to convey to your children? What do you want the children to grow up to be like?
Yeah.
Like, you're not just raising children, you're raising, hopefully, kids who will turn into respectable adults.
Right.
And what sort of things do you want them to come out of this knowing? And so being able to reframe it in terms of values was crucial to a lot of our conversations.
Right.
Awesome.
So we talk about that a lot on the show, that, building your family's values. What are the character traits? What are the life skills you want your kids to have? But then actually implementing it.
Yeah.
That can be a struggle, right? How do we go from all the knowledge to the actual transformation? And it sounds like it's been helpful to do these workshops and really talk it through and take you step by step through the process. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we still have rough periods, and summer's always a bit of a bruised pain point. And there are still things that we want to get better, and that's life. You're always seeking and trying to improve. But our baseline went from just trying to survive certain weekends to, okay, we've actually grown to the point where we're seeing admittable changes in the kids and in the structure and
awesome.
Understanding what we need.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. So I wonder if we dig a little bit deeper and going through and talking about, hey, words mean something.
Yes.
And even though maybe we're using the same word, we're actually speaking a different language. And so what we've done over the last 10 months is learn how to speak the same language in different areas of parenting and being together and that kind of thing. And that's been foundational in helping you, is what I've heard. I'm curious if each of you could identify what's been most helpful for you throughout the process. So you set the foundation, and then we've been meeting together for like 10 months.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of content.
So if you could just pinpoint, one or two things, what's been most helpful for each of you?
I think really the camaraderie of knowing that everyone's family setup is different, and yet at the core, a lot of us are feeling the same things.
Yeah.
And so I almost felt like it was my fault and I was a bad person, and why was I this awful human being for feeling this way? And just being able to validate that some of that's normal, to acknowledge that it's okay, but also to be able to work past it, I think has been leaps and bounds of where we were when we first started.
Yeah. Man, I think about, some of those meetings that we've had where, multiple couples show up and then you're sharing, and it's not even that encouragement coming from Mike and Kim, but it's those other people going, I feel that too. Nicole, you're normal, right?
And offering encouragement. Yeah.
Exactly.
We've loved to watch that.
Yeah, really good.
I do think that's one of the most exceptional things about bringing together a group and a community is there's validation, and we're not all going to be in the same parts of the country, the same socioeconomic background, the same religious beliefs, the same, everything. But there is these through lines that we're seeing that have yet to be identified.
Yep.
And to know that, hey, they're going through this too, and they're at a completely different stage than you're at.
Yeah.
I don't think it's said well enough. When you are in a blended family and you have your own, child, and you're seeing things and you're seeing things through the perspective of, well, this is my kid.
Yeah.
It can be very isolating, even from your own partner, even from your own children. It is a very isolating experience.
Yeah.
More so than any traditional family setups.
Yeah.
Because it's, us versus the world. It's me and my kid versus all of this.
Yeah.
And you see very quickly, like, no, that's not true. There are just as many people in this boat. You just didn't realize how big the boat was.
Yeah. So it feels like, man, we're going through this alone, and nobody in our immediate circle is experiencing these dynamics. But once we start this journey with Mike and Kim and with a few other couples, we start to realize, actually, we're not alone, and other people are experiencing the same thing. And just that alone actually brings hope, and it brings some energy that, hey, you know what, we can keep moving forward. Is that what I just heard?
I work a lot with the public, and it's been amazing to me just in the 10 months of having done this, how many people now I'm seeing, oh, you're in the same situation too. You know what you need to do? You need to go here. You identify more, and you're very quickly become very protective of, no, you have to do this.
Your business cards are going to be in his pocket.
That's okay.
Oh, I need to mail some to you.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
along with my founding member certificate.
There you go. There you go.
As founding members, it's been just a delight to have you guys as part of our community. And the two of you have really been integral in helping us to develop this community. Mm-hmm. You've had tons of insight and feedback that you've offered that's been just amazing. And I'm just wondering if each of you could share what you're most excited about for the future of our community as we continue to grow.
I'm really excited to see this aspect of what you're doing continue to grow and bringing in new couples and bringing in new voices and new experiences. Because this is a very private thing that you feel like you're going through.
Yeah.
And it can be very vulnerable putting yourself out there to an entire group of people. Mm-hmm. But this isn't a judgment zone because, again, we're all in this.
Yeah.
Like when I talked about it being, an isolating experience, everybody has their own island. And that island is your family. That island is the things that you are going through. Mm-hmm. But it's a chain of islands.
Right.
You don't realize. And no island subsists entirely on their own. They're pulling resources from all of these other things in order to create a sustainable environment. This very much is a sustainable environment. And the help and the growth in the community, it's so enriching. I can't speak widely enough of what this has the ability to do for families that are really struggling.
Yeah, I love that.
We're excited about that too, Chris.
Hey, we're all in the same boat. We're all struggling with the same thing. How can we support each other and genuinely engage and care for each other along the way? And I'm excited to see that continue to grow as well. Yeah. How about you, Nicole? What do you think?
So I think the thing that I'm most excited for is to expand and get more viewpoints of other people who are in the same boat. To me, it's like adding more tools in my toolbox, right? So I can reach out to the community even about something that's not tangentially related to step families. Mm-hmm. But as we all know, everything in a step family is related to step
just about,
somehow, yep.
For example, when we were struggling with meal times, and we had reached out to the community because we have various allergies, we have preferences, we have just a large struggle with how do we feed our kids and not go insane.
Yep.
With a side of step family drama thrown into all of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And everyone's been wonderful about, hey, have you thought about this? Could you try this? Would this fit, in your scenario? And I've been able to, expand all of the tools that I have at my disposal to get through some of the struggle with children.
Yeah. So the bigger we grow the community or the network, the more ideas we're going to have, the more creativity we might experience.
Yeah.
And everybody wins.
We've got 3 kids at very different stages of development.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear some of the stories and some of the things that kids that have left the home, there are kids that are much younger that we can provide 3-year-olds are tough. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
Through the teen years and through, the kids that are in their 20s, it's giving us guardrails in order to say, we need to make sure that we're on the lookout for this.
Yeah.
We need to know how are we right now going to decide how we're going to handle this. I mean, we've had conversations about how are we handling paying for college, how in a step family situation. What happens when these kids start driving and one of the step parents is like, hey, here's a car, by the way, give the bill to your parent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are scenarios that have come up and we've listened to, and it gives us the ability to say, all right, you hear what they were going to do. We need to sit down and talk about this.
Yeah, exactly.
We feel more prepared.
Yeah, so it helps you to be future focused.
A nice thing to be able to say, yes, we're focused on the future.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. So I know that there's somebody listening right now and there's some stirring going on and they're thinking, okay, this sounds pretty good, but they might still have a little bit of hesitation and they're just they're suffering in silence. They're struggling, but they're still feeling apprehensive or kind of unsure about, boy, is this really the right fit for us to join a community? What kind of advice would you have for that person that's just on the fence and kind of wrestling?
I think that I would say if you're struggling, you're not going to get out of the struggle unless you put some effort or some work into it. Why reinvent the wheel? Don't try to make this work from scratch, you're just going to end up with resentment the longer that you let it go on. Come hang out with us. Just listen. Just listen and enjoy and get to know everybody, and realize that you do have a really strong community that actually wants you to succeed.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Nicole. Awesome. What about you, Chris? What would you say to that person?
I mean, listen, person, it's tough love time, because in all honesty, silently struggling is a choice. You have options that are available. You are choosing to not take advantage of those. There is not a whole lot of options out there. And this is a damn good one. So I think being able to take advantage of that is important. And, leap. It's okay.
Yeah. Give it a try. Love it. Wow. Thank you. Thank you both so much. It's been such a privilege to get to know you guys over the last several months. I think you said something about being Mike and Kim fans somewhere along the way, but we're Chris and Nicole fans.
We are.
So really excited to have you guys be a part of it. And so for those of us who are listening, if you want to come and meet Chris and Nicole, you don't give a rip about Mike and Kim. That's totally fine. You guys just join us and you hang out with Chris and Nicole and we'll have a good time. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Wonderful. Yeah. So, awesome.
Thank
hey,
you so
we
much.
so appreciate you just giving feedback. We appreciate what you've done to invest in us and help us build this community over this last little while. And we are so excited about launching more opportunity for more people to join us. And if you're listening, we can't wait to meet you.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, Chris and Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate all your input and your feedback.
And thank you guys for the community and for the kind words always, and for the venue of letting us, speak and for us to be an advocate of you, because again, what you do is genuinely important.
Wow. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much for having us. And hopefully we can get some new friends, because you can never have too many friends.
That's right. Yeah. Very good. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in the next meeting in the community.
We will.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, what a privilege it's been to get to know Chris and Nicole, as well as several other couples who've joined us over the months. What I love about this unique experience so far is that even though we're leading the community and doing plenty of teaching and coaching, honey, you and I actually get the opportunity to just kind of hang out with the group and build some actual friendship with some like-minded couples. That's been kind of unexpected and really fun for me. I'm wondering, what's one thing that you love about the community experience so far?
Well, I love that as well. And especially what I love is the sense of camaraderie that's grown between all of the members. And it reminds me of a time years ago when I checked myself into rehab to work on my issues with substance abuse. When I first got there, I didn't know anyone, and I felt pretty unsocial and apprehensive, even a bit contentious toward the other patients and especially towards the counselors. Because the truth is, I'd been experiencing a lot of emotional and physical pain. Things had been stormy for a long time for me. And so, of course, when I checked into rehab, I brought all that pain and struggle with me. But over time, as we all came together to talk about our experiences and share our pain, I realized that I wasn't alone and that these people could relate to my deepest, darkest fears and struggles. By the end of my stint in rehab, I felt genuine connection to this group of recovering addicts and the counselors who were also recovering addicts just further down the road than I was. We cried together and comforted each other. We laughed together and encouraged each other to do hard things. And we learned healthy ways to move forward, away from our destructive patterns of coping, to embrace new, empowering ways to manage our pain and embrace a joy-filled life.
Wow.
It really was the people I met in rehab who helped change the trajectory of my life. I couldn't have done it on my own. I know that. So that's a long answer to your question, honey. But what I've loved the most about our community is the camaraderie. We're all in the same leaky boat, stuck in the storms, but we aren't rowing through it alone. We've got friends by our side to help us reach those calmer waters ahead.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love the analogy there, honey. And I also love just your vulnerability and being willing to share that. And it really is kind of like that. I mean, like we're all in this blended family rehab journey together, right? So if you're looking for this sense of belonging and camaraderie, like Kim's talking about with other blended families that are just like you, where you can get practical support and encouragement, the stuff you need to stay committed and persevere through the storms, then we just want you to join us. Yeah. We really encourage you to join us, and go ahead and hit the link in the show notes to join our Blending Together community. The doors open up right now, and we're going to be kicking off a few things over the next several weeks, but then we're going to dive deep and get started right at the beginning of October. So you want to get started right away and join us. We're really excited to connect with you.
Super excited. And, we're focused on making this a safe place to share genuinely without judgment.
That's right.
The good, the bad, the ugly, awkward, uncomfortable, any tough situation you're facing in your family, or even the internal struggle you're experiencing. Bring it on. We're there for you.
Absolutely. I love that it's a safe place of accountability with a community that's committed to continual learning and forward movement.
Right.
The community genuinely helps you take positive steps forward in implementing the strategies that we talk about right here on the show, just like Chris and Nicole shared.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're ready to experience some real wins and positive movement in your blended family, you really want to get unstuck and learn how to minimize the pain, uncertainty, and the chaos while building more clarity, confidence, and connection, our little community called Blending Together is the place for you.
Absolutely. Why not join us to experience a sense of normalcy around the complex dynamics of blending and to be surrounded by other people who really get it, like where you don't feel like you're crazy or that there's something wrong with your family.
Exactly. Like the person who sent in that recent review. When they learned about the trapped teammate, stranded stranger dynamic, they knew they were normal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so awesome.
Yep.
And whether you have a growth mindset or if you'd like to develop more of a growth mindset, well, this is the place for you to do that.
Ooh, yeah. I love working on growth mindsets,
You do.
right? Yeah. So if you've been listening to the show for a while and have ever had specific questions come to mind that you'd really like to ask us, or you're just unsure about how to handle something, and you think to yourself, I wonder what Mike and Kim's take on this would be, or how might other blended couples approach this situation? Man, what a great opportunity for you to join us and receive real life ideas from us and others in real time.
That's right. Or maybe you've thought about signing up for coaching directly with us, but you're concerned it won't fit into your budget.
Yep.
This is the place for you to get the quality support you need in a very affordable way.
That's right.
So as you're listening today, if you're thinking, yes, those are things I've been looking for, we just encourage you to jump in and join us.
That's true. Yeah. Now, last week, we shared this quote from John Gottman that says, couples wait an average of 6 years of being unhappy with their relationship before getting help. I really think that's so tragic. And let me tell you why. Honey, you and I are well aware of the relational damage that can take place over that time period,
right?
Especially in a blended family where kids are being impacted by our dynamics as a couple and how we're leading the family.
I agree. It is tragic. And we've coached many couples who are years into their blend, and sadly, they haven't gotten the help they needed to create a peaceful, stable, healthy home.
Yeah.
They've just been winging it for years, living in dysfunction and unhappiness. And now they're desperately trying to do some damage control and repair. And not just within their marriage, but with their kids and stepkids as well.
Yep.
This is an extremely difficult and emotionally draining place to be. And it isn't where we want anyone to end up in their blended journey. It doesn't have to be this way.
That's one of the biggest reasons that we started this podcast in the first place, so that couples would have free and easy access to practical help. But the reality is many of those couples who don't get the help that they really need, they're not able to recover despite their best efforts late in the game. There's just been too much damage done and they end up not making it. The divorce rate for blended couples is double that of first family marriages. And so we're hoping to change that unfortunate statistic And we actually believe it's possible if couples are willing and able to get the support that they need early on.
Absolutely. So if you've been trying to figure this stuff out on your own and you've realized that things really aren't getting better, maybe they're even spiraling downward and there's some relational damage happening in your home. Please don't wait. When it comes to understanding and navigating all the challenging dynamics and difficult emotions that come with blending, the sooner you can implement changes through genuine support, the better.
That's right. Getting plugged into community in our journey has played a major role in our ability to navigate everything that's come at us over the years. So if you're really struggling and it feels like you're barely holding on, this community is absolutely the right place for you. It might just be the place where you start out on a whole new and hopeful trajectory. Remember those words of wisdom from Brady Bunch Dad, who had experienced divorce in his real life, not just the character, but the actor. He said, a community that learns together excels together. We need to form communities that learn together. The truth is, being connected to a community is critical, and all too often it's overlooked.
That's right. And by the way, if you're anything like me, everything we're talking about today might feel a bit outside your comfort zone. And if that's you, I totally get it. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. I love that. If you're feeling apprehensive like I do about these kinds of things, maybe just focus on taking that first step. Join us and see where it leads you.
Yeah, I love that. You know, another author says, today is a perfect opportunity to start building the tomorrow you really want. It's our hope that you're going to pause for just a moment right now and think about the tomorrow you really want. Daydream about what the relationships in your home are going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. What will your children have to share about what it was like growing up in your blended family? What memories are they going to carry with them into adulthood? Just pause and ponder what you really want your family to experience, even 6 months from now. Now think about your current trajectory. Where will you end up if nothing much changes? Will you get to experience the future you really want? Or do you need to take action today so that you and your family are going to get there? Now ask yourself if the Blending Together community might be the perfect opportunity for you to make a real difference in the future for your family. And you know what? If you've got some questions, hey, just reach out to us. We'll put our email in the show notes. Reach out with questions.
Sure.
If you're feeling alone, feeling isolated as you navigate the challenge of step-family life, and you'd like to hear more about the value of connecting with others and more details about our early experiences of community back when we first got married, you might want to go check out episode 145, and we'll put a link in the show notes for you. Hey, if you're kind of feeling like you're on the fence, don't wait. Hop in. It's going to be less than $1 a day. You're going to have regular, continual access to us as well as the community. What an incredible investment that you get to make into your family and into your future. And we would love to have you join us.
And there is no long-term obligation.
Absolutely.
Just come and check it out.
For sure. Okay, thanks so much for being here with us today. And that's going to make this episode a wrap.
Until next time.